こんにちは。本日はここ、日本橋ライフサイエンスビル、そしてオンラインにお集まりいただきまして、誠にありがとうございます。これより第3回北欧ヘルスサミットジャパンを始めてまいります。本日司会を務めます、北欧政府系の連携機関であります、ノルディックイノベーションハウス東京の塩野と申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。本サミットは、北欧のヘルスケア分野における最先端の技術やソリューションに取り組むスタートアップや成長企業、それと、日本の企業や投資家を結ぶマッチメイキングを主目的としたイベントでございます。アストラゼネカ社、そしてデンマークに拠点を置き、北欧と日本のスタートアップエコシステムを結ぶ活動に従事するナバーの協賛のもと、リンク J および北欧5カ国の大使館商務部投資部の共催で開催しております。開催に先立ちましてお願いが2つございます。まずウェビナー終了後にこちらの前方画面にアンケートフォームが表示されます。ぜひ本日のイベントのご感想をお寄せいただければと思います。そして次にウェビナー中の録音、録画、それから画面キャプチャーなどの行為はお控えいただけますようどうぞご協力をお願いいたします。それでは開会の挨拶に移りたいと思います。開会の挨拶は、ペール・エリック・ヘグベリ、駐日スウェーデン大使、クリスティン・イグルム、駐日ノルウェー大使、ステファン・ホイクル・ヨハネソン、駐日アイスランド大使、そしてタニア・ヤースケライネン、駐日フィンランド大使より頂戴いたします。Now we are ready to move on to the opening remarks. So, ambassadors, may I have you all to the stage?
Yes, we have to. Yeah. 皆様、こんにちは。I have my three other colleagues with me in welcoming all of you warmly to this Nordic Health Summit. Many, many thanks from all of us to all the companies who have either traveled here to be present on site or who are participating also online. And I would also like, on behalf of my colleagues, also thank the trade promotion offices in Tokyo so much and Nordic Innovation House for organizing this health summit. Also, I know I speak on behalf of all of us that we are very, very happy to see health, a very important sector, as part of the collaboration between the Nordic countries and Japan, and that we actually today have the third Nordic Health Summit. So this is really, really great. Well, I think we can clearly say that all 6 countries present here today, we share the same focus on health as a very important sector. Our governments want to provide good healthcare to the citizens. At the same time, we face joint challenges. For instance, an aging population and also the need for better digital solutions within healthcare. And to find and to address global challenges together, we need to work together. And that's why we are here today. So again, thank you all so much for being here, for making good use of the day today, for finding good collaboration together, because that's when we are moving in the right direction together. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Ladies first. Okay, thank you very much. I'm Ambassador of Finland. My name is Tanja Jääskeläinen, and it's a great pleasure to also greet you briefly before the actual pitching and other more important things happen. Just a few words to say why it would be good for Japanese companies to interact with us Nordics. And I only mention one thing which sort of radiates to the whole Nordic society and to the Finnish society and Nordic society, and that is trust. Trust is at the core of the both Finnish identity, but the Nordic identity as well. It really serves as the cornerstone for conducting high quality health research, for example. It fosters active patient participation and plays a pivotal role in enabling effective collaboration among the highly educated researchers and healthcare professionals in our countries. Trust also facilitates establishment of globally unique digital health data infrastructure also, including national registries in Finland with whole population coverage, actually, detailed clinical data and biobanks with versatile collections of biological samples for medical research. Moreover, the trust in Finland, for example, is nurturing innovation and it's evident through its substantial investment in research and development, alongside a range of multidisciplinary collaboration opportunities and government-funded initiatives designed to support companies operating within the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome to the world where trust fuels excellence in health innovation. Thank you.
Konnichiwa, Gorantain, as we say in my language. So good to see you all here today, and I'd like to echo what my colleagues, Tanya and Christine, have said in thanking you for being here today. This is indeed an excellent opportunity for, if I may use the word matchmaking, bringing together Nordic health innovators and the Japanese healthcare industry. And I think this is actually a match made in heaven in many ways. You probably all know that we enjoy excellent relations with the Nordics, excellent relations with Japan. And I'm sure our Nordic health innovators will feel it on their own skin today, how positive and creative and dynamic our relations have been with our Japanese friends. Now, the Nordic countries have long been in the forefront of pioneering healthcare solution. They've been very good at blending nature-inspired innovation with cutting-edge technology. Meanwhile, Japan is a bastion, a beacon of precision and excellence in healthcare practices. So if I may use a cliche, I am convinced that an event like this is full of win-win opportunities. So I would like to finally encourage you to use this platform, this excellent opportunity to explore ways to collaborate together to the fullest. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome to the Nordic Health Summit.
Konnichiwa, Per-Erik desu. Watashi wa Sweden no Taishi. I have very little to add, but I think it's a nice symbolic value in the fact that we are standing here, 4 of the 5 Nordic ambassadors. No critique of the 5th one. He was busy with other things, the Danish ambassador. Perhaps you don't know that the 5 Nordic countries, if you add the populations up together, we are 27 million people. But if we add our economies together, we are actually the 10th largest economy on the planet. And of course, healthcare is a very important thing in this. And the Nordic countries and my country, Sweden, brings a lot of innovation, a lot of startup capacity, a lot of thinking outside the box also when it comes to healthcare. And this match with Swedish startups and innovators, together with, as my colleagues have said, well-established and globally well-renowned Japanese pharmaceuticals and life science companies, and some Japanese money. That creates a very, very, very good match. So please make sure that you connect, that you get inspired by ideas, and especially if you think, well, that probably doesn't work, or that's too wild of an idea, that's probably the one you should go for. So let's open our minds and let's be very, very keen on making new friends and partnerships. Thanks to our colleagues and thanks for all the Japanese representatives being here. Have a good matchmaking exercise. Arigato. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassadors. それでは、早速、北欧のヘルス分野におけるイノベーションシーンを深掘りしてまいりたいと思います。まずはスウェーデン大使館商務部マグヌス・ブロンドル、そしてノルディックイノベーションハウス東京ニコラス・カルボネンより北欧のライフサイエンスイノベーションと題してプレゼンをさせていただきます。お二人どうぞ壇上の方にお願いいたします。
Thank you so much. So we're so happy to be here with all of you and to start this Nordic Health Summit after the introduction from the ambassadors. We'd like to give you
and hopefully you can hear what I'm saying now as well. We'd like to give you some insight into life science innovation in the Nordics. My name is Magnus Blondell from Business Sweden. I'm the life science lead for Japan, but also for this part, East Asia. And the ambassadors talked about the perfect match between the Nordics, Nordic innovation, and Japanese industry and investors. And we hope to give you some more insight on why we think this, so that you can, you can think for yourself if this is really correct. And we will be structuring these 15 minutes in me providing some insights that are specific to the life science sector in the Nordics. And of course, there's a lot more innovation in the Nordics than just life science, and a lot of aspects that are common with other sectors where we see a lot of innovations now. And therefore, I will ask Niklas to talk a little bit about innovation in the Nordics in general to give you an overall picture. Okay, so let me start by talking a little bit why very overall picture about innovation in life science in the Nordics. So there are roughly 4,000 companies in the Nordics in the life science sector. And when we talk about life science, sometimes we mean biotech and pharma just, but in this case, we think wider. We're talking about biotech, pharma, medical devices, a lot of new digital products that are becoming increasingly important. And roughly 100,000 people in our 5 countries working in the life science sector. And as you can see towards the left, you see that that our countries are sizable markets for pharmaceutical products, but actually also big producers of pharmaceutical products, especially in Denmark and Sweden, where we have a few very big companies. We also have large pipelines of pharmaceutical products that are growing, and we'll go into that a little more later. But just in Sweden, for instance, roughly 350 items in biopharmaceutical pipelines. Now I will hand over to Niklas to talk a few moments about innovation in general in the Nordics, where I think we have some specific approaches.
Thank you very much, Magnus, and thank you on my behalf as well for everyone joining us. My name is Niklas Karonen from Nordic Innovation House. And let me just get down here. So just a few words about innovations in general. I could talk for hours about this topic. It's my favorite topic. But here are just some of the numbers. We have reached to 78 unicorn companies from the Nordic regions. These are privately owned companies which have reached $1 billion USD valuation. This is actually per capita the second highest in the world, right after Silicon Valley. 10 more were added in 2022, which means that the ecosystem is very lively and bubbling. We can see from the countries here, we have unicorns from all of the Nordic regions. Sweden is heading the chart, Denmark and Finland coming up behind. And it's also very exciting to see that just in the recent few years, we've seen new unicorns from Norway as well, meaning that there is a very bubbling startup ecosystem. And we also have one company from Iceland. Some of the companies you might know in Japan, including Skype, Spotify, Volt, a food delivery company. And within the health sector, we have, for example, Kry from Sweden, which is an online consultation service. Very quickly, 6 main reasons why the Nordics are innovative. It's all built on the Nordic model of the welfare state, equal opportunities, good access to healthcare, free or very affordable education. This allows for a good breeding ground for innovation. We're also early adapters of technology. We have history of companies such as Nokia, Sony Ericsson, etc. We are very strong in telecommunications, 5G, 6G, Bluetooth, some of the technologies that allow for startups to be born. Access to diverse capital, of course, domestic VCs, CVCs, also governmental institutions, very active business angel network, and more investments also from Japan coming to the Nordic region. Snowball effect, something I'm very excited about in Japan as well. Serial entrepreneurs giving back to the community, making new companies, mentoring the next generation. Supportive ecosystem, clusters that are very tightly connected and good flat sharing of information. And last but not least, the mindset. Born global, our domestic markets are still relatively small, so the companies have to go global from day one onwards. And also not being afraid of failure. Failure is an opportunity to learn something new, to build something better. I would like to talk more about this during the reception, but I will hand it back to Magnus from here to take a deeper dive into the life science innovation ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niklas. And now going over to perhaps a little more hard factors and what companies we have in the Nordics. And you see that it's a very diverse sector here. We're mainly focusing on the different types of companies. And we have 2 flagship companies, AstraZeneca, of course, Novo Nordisk, but we also have quite a number of mid-size companies. Some of them are pharmaceutical companies, other medical device companies like Elektia, Getinge, and Mölnlycke. And then we have a very, very big and growing group of small companies, startups, scale-ups. So that's where you see the majority of the new companies, the small companies. And another characteristics for the Nordics, and now I'm focusing on biotech and pharmaceuticals, is that we are very active in patenting new technologies. And of course, we are quite small economies, roughly 25 million people in total. But looking at number of patents per 1 million inhabitants, we are far above the European Union average, and also above the US and other important countries. To understand the sector in the Nordics, it's important to understand how the sector is financed, and especially the new companies. Of course, we have venture capital that Niklas touched upon. But something that is, I think, quite unique for the region is that many of our new startups and fairly early companies are on the stock exchanges. From these figures, you can see that funding from the open capital markets is actually larger than from venture capital in the Nordics. The biggest stock market for new life science companies in the Nordics is Nasdaq Stockholm. We already touched upon the pipelines and now also focusing on biotech and pharmaceuticals. And the pipeline combined in the Nordics actually is on par on some of the bigger countries in Europe, despite having substantially lower population. But let's also focus on growth. So 10 years ago, we had roughly 600 items in the biotech pipelines combined in the Nordics. Now we have 900. So it might not, for someone who's new to the sector, it might not seem that special, but we've grown 50% in 10 years. But the European average is actually growing the biotech pipeline for 4 or 5% in this period of time. So that's really important. And when it comes to the funding landscape, you always have more seeds when you have money. But we also have a growing finance scene. So we see more money coming into the sector, both from the stock market and venture capital. There was a slump in 2022, and we've seen a recovery last year. Not all of this money is to startups. It also includes financing of larger life science companies. And when it comes to the therapeutic areas that are big in the Nordics, it's the ones that you would expect: oncology, neurology, immunology, diabetes, of course. We'll touch a little more on the digital aspects and health data. So that's some strengths that already the ambassadors touched upon, that, for instance, in Finland, 100% accessible health data, and also very important quality registries in most of the countries, where I think Norway stands out. And it's a diverse sector, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on this slide, which is a bit plotty, but you see not only in biotech, but also in other areas like digital health. There are many new companies. Just in Sweden, we have over 200 digital health companies, and that's growing. We also have a number of technology and life science parks. For instance, in Sweden, we have 12 of them. And they are typically co-located with the universities that you see here. So in Europe, you have a number of well-known universities, including Cambridge, Paris, and London, that are important for innovation. And in the Nordics, we have several, and the most important are Medicon Valley, which is the border area between Denmark and Sweden. And also we have the cluster in Stockholm and Uppsala with Karolinska as the most well-known name. We've touched a little bit on digitalization. So you will all be familiar that there's a big lack of healthcare workers in the developed world. And that's true for Japan, it's true for the Nordics, it's true for the US as well, most countries in Europe. There are figures saying that there's a lack of 13 million healthcare workers by next year. A lot of investments are being done in the sector to kind of offload the healthcare workers with more digital support, but also transitioning the provision of healthcare services So we see that there's historically we had analog healthcare, meaning face-to-face consultation, face-to-face delivery of healthcare. And during the last 20 years in Nordics, we've transferred towards what we call traditional digital health, which means that the administrative records are all digital, but the delivery of healthcare is the same. Now we're going into the next stage where actually the delivery of healthcare is also in part digital. It could be by the most easy way to understand is thinking about online consultation, but there are many other important aspects. And in all these areas, the Nordics are front runners and had a really early start with many of the medical records being digitalized as far as long back as in the 80s. And of course, today is all about linking innovation in the Nordics with Japanese industry and Japanese investors. And please remember that the Nordics are very open to innovation and collaboration. So in fact, most of the new companies that we see in the sector, they are set up to collaborate with other partners, with other companies, with academia. So all collaboration is, generally speaking, very welcome. And please also consider that there are many different ways of collaborating in the sector. Typically, you think about licensing agreement, and that's possible with, most will be possible for many of the companies that behind the pipeline items in the biotech, which are roughly 900. But there are also other ways of collaborating, like partnerships for research in clinical studies, distribution agreements, private capital investments is another way of collaborating. And please consider here that many of the startups in the Nordics are on the stock market. So you will need to consider also invested in listed companies. And one advantage of that is that there's a lot of publicly available information about those companies. Also, we have a lot of many important research facilities in the Nordics, typically with government funding, but most of them also open for overseas companies to join and use these facilities. Finally, the sector has many incubators that also welcome overseas companies. And this is probably kind of not a possibility that is underused, I think, from Japanese companies to join the incubators in the Nordics and become a part of the ecosystem by sharing space and having lunch together and more kind of informal start for collaboration. So I hope that this brief introduction has given you some insight into life science innovation in the Nordics. And I also hope that it's given you some inspiration to the matchmaking meetings that will be commencing in, roughly an hour and a half. Thank you so much.
お二方どうもありがとうございました。続きましては、北欧から実際、日本マーケットに進出してきた事例をご紹介していきたいと思います。国際ケアシステム株式会社代表取締役社長グスタフ・ストランデルさんにご登壇いただきます。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
Hello, my name is Gustav. Thank you for some of your time today. A long time ago, I came here from Sweden. I've been here almost 30 years, and I have a small consulting company called International Care System. 1/3 of my time I spend actually managing a Japanese nursing home together with my wife. And the rest of the time I do assist foreign companies with market entry and some other, also some international work with the ISO organization, creating global standards. I will present to you my favorite customer, Evondos. Evondos is still in an early stage, so I shouldn't talk too much about it as a success in Japan yet, but I will try to explain as much as possible about our process here and what has been successful and what can be done probably for all of us. Evondos Group is a medication management company in Europe. It is not a venture. It is a very successful company in Europe already. Evondos provides, you can see on the right there, it's a bit difficult to see perhaps, but well, I call it a medication robot, but it's a device that you will actually have in someone's home, or it could be in a nursing home or a hospital. And in this device, roughly 1 month's worth of medication is in there, and you will be able to get your medication at the right time for about 1 month without anyone, no medical doctors, nurses, pharmacists involved. So the amazing feat of Evondos is, for example, this medication adherence of 99%. People are taking in Northern Europe, using this device, the right medication at the right time. The average over in the world is, according to WHO, is actually 50%. To put this in a Japanese perspective, I recently learned a new Japanese word called zanyaku. Zanyaku means medication lying everywhere in people's homes, not being taken, to a waste of social costs of roughly 500 million Japanese yen a year. But it's not just the cost of people not taking their medication. We did do research with Japanese medical doctors together with Evondos here. And every medical doctor we visited, they said that one of their greatest anxieties is that they do the diagnosis, they prescribe the medication, but no medical doctor will ever know if anyone actually takes the medication. So when they come in next, we don't really know if people are doing, taking the right medication and therefore are on their way back to health, for example. The service in Europe is usually done by lease. So it is a SaaS-based health tech company where monthly fees are being paid. It has a video-assisted feature or a caregiver-assisted one. So you can actually venture into the telemedicine space where, for example, your care worker or nurse is actually interacting with you while you take your medication. We haven't seen that solution in Japan yet. Nurses can also supervise the medication, but in most cases in Europe, as far as I've heard, is that it's being taken just very effectively, even without supervision. So the Evondos Group was established in 2008 as a venture, of course. It now has a turnover of 41 million euro, and the turnover growth is 80%. It has dispensed 18 million doses. As I said, 99% adherence on this, and has 350 employees, rapidly growing in Europe and now also venturing out into other countries. The 600 customer organizations, especially in Northern Europe, is in many cases municipalities. I do think this is a strength of the Nordic model, which is that the government is involved in management of social costs. As you know, in Japan, because there are many different insurance systems, so it can be difficult in Japan to actually measure the actual social cost on innovation, which I'm sure many of you, the companies in here also experience. And one of the most, I think, impressive feats in Europe is how many days this solution has saved for very busy medical doctors, nurses, and care workers. According to the studies done in Europe, it has saved 2 million working days. And I will get back to this about the situation in Japan. There are two services, Evondos and the Medido service. The premise for the development of Evondos in Japan, and this is not news for anyone in here, I think. The demographics, Japan is a pioneer. It is the most aged country in the world. And it overtook Sweden, I think, in 1995. Sweden was #1 until then, but now Japan is. Congratulations on that. Yes. So the challenge is, of course, the challenge is unsustainable social costs, unprecedented staff shortages. But still, Japan does have an affinity for technical solutions. Some of this is in Japanese, but I will explain. These graphs are very prevalent now in the care sector, especially in the sense that there are roughly 2.11 million care workers in Japan today, and it will have to increase by 320,000 by next year. How many in here do think that Japan will increase the care workers by 320,000 people by next year? Nobody, right? So it is very much a situation of crisis. Many tech companies are looking at these numbers and see how many of these care workers can we perhaps at least either make people more healthy and less care dependent, or help care workers do more with less. And as you see, the situation is only going to be more and more challenging. The care tech challenge is being discussed of course, in many ministries in Japan, but also I am a board member of something called the Japan Care Tech Association, where Japanese manufacturers and actual managers of nursing homes, or in some cases hospitals, come together and look at what different stakeholders need from technology. And these stakeholders' needs are, needless to say, different. A manager of a nursing home, which I have been for many, many years, will look at, for example, how can I increase productivity or even profit, yes, in order to do a sustainable business, but also risk management. But care workers don't have that look on technology at all. They want to be perhaps provide better quality work or get a decreased work burden. The elderly themselves, they are not necessarily looking at a safer lifestyle. They want a lifestyle of well-being. And that is, again, a different perspective. Family members, they also want well-being for their elderly parents or so, or family members, other family members. But they also, because families in Japan especially, they provide some of the financing for services or products. So they want a reasonable cost. Society needs those costs to be sustainable. So I was very happy to meet Evondos as a company and see the solution. And imagining it, for example, in the nursing homes or the care services companies that I have managed in Japan so far. How about a medication dispensing service that increases productivity and profit for pharmacies, but also it actually creates time for medical doctors, nurses, and pharmacists and care workers. It improves well-being for elderly due to the 99% adherence. It alleviates anxiety for family members because we all worry about parents or grandparents at home. Do they really take their medication or not? And according to any study we have in Europe from this solution, it does decrease social costs. Bingo, 5 out of 5. The whole care sector in Japan is desperate for these kind of solutions. Even if, a solution is providing 1, 2, or 3 of these is good, but all 5, that's really nice to see. The development flow of Evondos in Japan is also not, it's quite basic. I'm not even sure I need to go through the these basics, but an initial market research was provided, and then a partner search and several MNDAs. Evonda's team from Finland, the capital is from Norway, by the way, but they visited Japan and twice, I think, so far, and we provided or we made one pilot project. Another one is on the way, including, well, technical pilot projects, but also we included the active participation by a professor in pharmacy from the beginning. These pilot projects, and this is also a recommendation for anyone, is that we wanted an actual company ready to become a distributor or a customer from the beginning, so that it's not just a university project. We have participation by a $1 billion pharmacy corporation. The access to all social cost benefit research has been given to us, but this is also a recommendation for today. I'm not sure we need it, but again, a different client that I'm involved with recently is a company from Taiwan. They have an amazing solution where the basic research was not just from Taiwan, but also from Harvard and Cambridge. And they also have publications from Nature. But they're still doing a Japanese pilot project with Tsukuba University in order to make sure that this is not just something from a foreign land, but something that is actually, it actually works in a Japanese context. And AIST, the Advanced Institute of Science and Technology out in Tsukuba, is also involved on an early stage. Because this is a governmental institute with 3,000 researchers, I think it's very important if you're talking about measuring social costs that an institute like this is involved. The challenge right now is to confirm the possibility of inclusion with reimbursement and insurance systems in Japan to create the correct business model. That is as far as we have gone with Evondas right now. Distributor contracts or creation of subsidiary is likely to happen shortly. That's it from me. It's not easy to provide a 15-minute solution to Japan's social challenge right now, but this is one of them, I think. What we all need is a proven and successful product, long-term initiative, and localization in order to get Nordic companies to thrive in Japan. Believe me, I have tried without doing, I have set up a company in Japan with an unproven and unsuccessful product with a short-term initiative and no localization. It took me many years, but it was also profitable. Let's do this right. And if you have any questions, I think the time will be perhaps after the event. Just grab me and I will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。続きまして、北欧と日本のアカデミアの分野での連携の、を見ていきたいと思います。U東京 KI リンク、大学とスタートアップをつなぐスウェーデンと日本のバイオサイエンスイノベーションと題しまして、東京大学大学院新領域創生科学研究科、鈴木実教授、それから東京大学大定量生命科学研究所教授、岡田由紀様に、ご講演いただきます。よろしくお願いいたします。
ご紹介ありがとうございます。東京大学から参りました。私、岡田と申します。鈴木先生です。よろしくお願いいたします。スライドは自分で変えるんですかね。はい。本日は、こちらに示しております4つのトピックについて、お話ししたいと思います。まず私たち、今日は東京ユニバーシティと、カロリンスカイインスティテュートの、競争、コラボレーションについて、宣伝をいたします。まず私たちは、去年からU東京 KI リンクというコラボレーションプロジェクトを開始いたしまして、さらに今年JST からの補助金を得まして、アスパイアというより拡張したより、先進的なプロジェクトを始めております。で、前半のリンクの立て付けと少し私の研究の紹介を前半でいたしまして、後半は鈴木先生からアスパイアと先生のプロジェクトをご紹介いただきます。まず U東京 KI リンクですけれども、これが昨年立ち上がったものです。 私が所属しております IQB 定量生命科学研究所がこのコンソーシアムの窓口となっておりまして、東京ユニバーシティから7つのライフサイエンスの部局が参加しております。研究者は約50名がそこに参画しているということになります。で一方で、カロリンスカインスティテュートの方は、20の研究室からご参加いただいておりまして、南北の研究所に加え、付属病院も、そちらに、加わっていただいております。私たちは、昨年、この調印式を行いましたし、こちらに示してあるように、キックオフシンポジウムも行ったという経緯でございます。でこの、アクティビティの最も、大きな特徴は人材交流を活発にしようと、それに伴って研究も当然活性化していこうということであります。で特に若い人の交流を進めております。日本は若手研究者の減少が嘆かわしい状態でありますけれども、大学院生、若手研究者に海外、特にカロリンスカインスティテュートの最先端の研究を体感していただきつつ、さらにカロリンスカインスティテュートからも若手の研究者を東京大学にお迎えしまして、そういった人材交流を通してさらに研究を盛り上げていこうという状態であります。また、特筆すべきこととしては、我々カロリンスカインスティテュート出身の研究者でありますドクター・ジャプセンを東京大学の PI としてお迎えいたしました。で彼がロールモデルかつ橋渡し役として今後両研究所のつながりをより一層深くしてくれるものと期待しております。ここで私の研究の紹介です。こういう場ですのでちょっと宣伝させていただきます。日本はですね、不妊治療大国としてよく知られており、その症例数は世界で群を抜いております。中でも、発展的な治療であります顕微授精が主流でありまして、今日本で生まれているお子さんの 12% が顕微授精で生まれているという状況であります。顕微授精といいますと、よく精子が1個あれば大丈夫ですよと言われるんですけれども、実はそんな簡単なものではございません。こちらに示しておりますように、精子が簡単に見つかるような人は育児に来ないわけです。精子がない、非常に見つかりづらいという方が来られるわけで、そういった検体から精子を探すという作業自体が非常に困難なものになります。私たちの研究では、この精子を特異的に染める色素を見つけまして、精子の検出を容易にできたというのが開発であります。でこれは特にですね、精液内に精子が見つからない重度の不妊症治療が必要な患者さんに適用されます MDTs と呼ばれる精巣をサージカルにオープンにして、そこからわずかな精子を見つけないといけないという非常に厳しい状態の患者さんに非常に有効な方法であると考えております。また、人だけでなくマウス、家畜、さまざまな精子に使えるということで、産業動物応用も今後発展していきたいと考えております。もしこの技術に興味のお持ちがある方は、ぜひ後半でお声掛けください。はい、では鈴木先生に交代いたします。
はい、よろしくお願いいたします。先ほど岡田先生の方からご説明があった通りですけれども、U東京と、UFT と、KI の方でのジョイントラボが始まっておりまして、で、全学挙げての、イベントであると。で、藤井総長をはじめとして、7部局ですかね、何十年の研究者。で、逆も真でして、東京大学から今度カロリンスカに、一人准教授が常駐して、そちらで学生を、東大の学生も教育する、向こうの学生も教育するという枠組みであって、これから活発にしていこうということであります。その中で私のミッションなんですけれども、ゲノムの配列以外のゲノム解析っていうと、変な言い方になるかもしれないですけど、そういうところを受け持っております。私のところはコアラボみたいなことをやってるんですけれども、もしかしたらゲノム解析っていうと DNA の配列をたくさん読んで何百万人って読んで、遺伝子を見つけるんだっていうふうにお思いかもしれないですけれども、それはちょっと一段落つきつつありまして、イギリス、アメリカでも察したというようなところであります。で、今むしろ始まりつつあるのは、ゲノムの配列の使われ方が、ゲノムは DNA ですので、その使われ方が、生まれてから成長して老化して死ぬまでの間に違うと。で、それが一個一個の細胞ごとでも違うというようなことが今、クローズアップされているということです。人の中には50兆個細胞があるというふうに言われてますけれども、その一個一個によって、一個一個が極端な話、DNA の使われ方が違うから脳になったり肝臓になったりするということを、それは全部は無理でも何千万、何億ぐらいの細胞だったら今、その遺伝子の機能を調べられるという時代になっているということを私たちのところでやっていて、その技術をそのスウェーデン と一緒になりながら開発して、それをアプライしていこうという枠組みでやっております。先ほどの、精密医療という言葉はしばらく前に出ましたけれども、超精密医療というようなことの、技術の発祥が実はスウェーデンです。で、最終的にはこれアメリカで、大きな会社が買って、販売することになりますけれども、そのシリアルナンバー 1番っていうのが世界初で、うちに入ったりも、してますけれども、この、技術の、シードがスウェーデンであって、あまり知られてないんですけれども、さらに次の技術っていうのが、出つつあるということであります。一つ前の技術にはなりますけれども、これが今、いろんな製薬会社等で入りつつある技術ですけれども、例えば一個一個の細胞で、どの免疫細胞がどのがん細胞をアタックして、がん細胞が抵抗性を持っているから効かなくなるんだっていうのが、そのがん免疫療法みたいなところでエッセンシャルになるわけですけれども、それを一個一個の細胞を見て、この細胞に最適な、治療というのを、実現できるようになるかもしれない。まだ研究レベルですけれども、例えばそれは今全部バッサリ見て、DNA の突然変異でこのがんはこの治療っていうのをやっている、それを精密医療と言ってるわけですけれども、そうではなくて、この今書いて出しているのが肺がんですけれども、この子に50万個細胞があるらしいんですけれども、この一個一個に最適な、治療を届けないと、実は根治っていうのはできないと。で、それは、今の、ゲノム医療を超えて、言葉もないですけれども、次の医療をもたらすかもしれない。その走りとしてこの上段で、その1細胞に、着目したような、でも創薬っていうのがもう始まっていて、例えば第一三共で去年、その PMDA で承認された、ドラッグみたいなのも出つつあるというようなことであります。これを、技術を、スウェーデンと日本、東大ですかね、でシェアしながら、で、あとは検体、日本人、スウェーデン、ヨーロッパ人の検体を、解析していこうというフレームワークを構築しようとしているということであります。さらに目を広げると、実は今の話、病気の人、がんの例だったんですけど、健常な人はどうだっていう話にも、なります。健常な人の血液を一細胞一細胞見ながら、その人により良い生活を提案できないかっていうのを、例えばフィットビットなんかでモニタリングしながら、例えば食生活、スマホで写真撮って栄養分解、栄養分析、であるいは睡眠、GPS での運動情報みたいなのとリンクさせないと、逆にフィットビットで今みたいな活動データだけ見てると、分子に、遺伝子に依拠した形にならないので、そこは具体的に薬を作るとかサプリを作るとかっていうことにならないので、中の、分子に着目したものを、こう開発して、モニタリングして開発して、で、生活の改善、サービスとして届けていこうというようなものが、これか、こっちか。すみません。始まっているというようなことです。カロママプラスとか、名前しちゃダメなのか。食事と、睡眠とかですね。っていうようなものが始まっているというようなことです。こういう意味で考えると、むしろこれはアカデミアというよりは、ビジネスの方に入ってきていただいての、生活の向上かなというふうに思うということであります。ちなみにですけど、これ日本語なのは、これ街のサービスとしてどうにかならないかということで、これ三井不動産が、街をどうやってデザインするかっていう思考的なものでやっています。もしビジネス的にご興味のある方は、私よりもむしろ、三井不動産に柏の葉事業部、私、柏から来ましたけれども、柏の葉事業部っていうのがありまして、そこで街ぐるみでやっていると。そこに一個一個の血液の細胞の分子の情報を与えるというのがミッションということになります。で、今言った枠組みが配列を超えて一個一個の細胞ということですので、新しい形で教育をしなければならないということで、これ、藤井総長以下、イニシアチブを取りまして、スクール、これ、社会人リカレント教育の、スクールです。ビジネスの会の方にも、ぜひ今の社会の早い変遷をしていただきたいということで、こういうゲノムスクールと称しまして、こういうスクールも開催していますので、ぜひというふうにも思います。で、また今のお話っていうのは、実は配列ではないので、個人情報の縛りが緩い。個人識別符号性がもしかしたら緩和してできるっていうこともあり得るかもしれないので、そういう意味でも倫理的な意味でもどう扱うかというのも議論ということで、健康医療戦略推進本部なんか政府の方でも、この一気に変わりつつあるゲノム科学をどうするかっていう議論が今、活性化していて、やっぱり、10年前に出遅れたと言われる、日本のゲノムの、この次世代型のゲノム医療を、今度は出遅れてはならないという思いで、東大、敬愛で頑張ろうというようなことであります。で、実は先週スウェーデンに私行ってきまして、で、上に書いてあるのがそこの、ビルの中で東大の、ラボを作ろうとしている、ところです。で、学生さんたちの第一波が今行って、ちょっと置き去りにしてきちゃったんですけど、今回は、数週間ですけれども、長期に滞在するというようなことであります。で、学生さんたちがプレゼンテーションしています。で、右下は、スウェーデン、向こうにいる日本大使ですかね、スウェーデンにいる日本大使。で、こういう、学術、ビジネスの交流を非常にバックアップしてくれるということでありますし、真ん中下段、これスウェーデンのスタートアップカンパニーです。で、ちょっと詳細はあれですけれども、新しい技術でできているものをいち早く取り入れて、どういうものか見てみるということで、技術 スを交流しながら、検体も日本人とやっぱりスウェーデン人違ってますので、病態にしても健康なものにしても、そういうものの多様性も知りながら、最終的にはやはりいち早く規模の拡大で商用化というふうにつなげていこうというような試みでやっております。もし少しでもご興味がありましたら、私の方までコンタクトいただければというふうに思います。ご清聴どうもありがとうございました。
鈴木先生、岡田先生、どうもありがとうございました。続きましては、大企業におけるオープンイノベーションを見ていきたいと思います。患者中心のビジネスモデル実現に向けたアストラゼネカのオープンイノベーションと題しまして、アストラゼネカ株式会社イノベーションパートナーシップ&I2JP ディレクターの劉玲さんにご登壇いただきます。よろしくお願いいたします。
よろしくお願いします。皆さん、こんにちは。今日は貴重な場をありがとうございます。ぜひこの場を借りてですね、我々の活動を紹介させていただく機会とできればと思います。そうですね、私たちアストラゼネカジャパン、日本法人のチームでございまして、この i2.jp、イノベーションインフュージョンジャパン、略して i2.jp ですけれども、このプログラムを今運用して4年目に入りました。いわゆるオープンイノベーションの活動でございます。では、どうしてアストラゼネカっていうグローバルファームがこういうことをやってるかということですけれども、こちら、アストラゼネカジャパンのビジョン2025ですね、我々の中期経営計画みたいなものでございます。ここにですね、ペイシェントセントリックビジネスモデルのパイオニアになるということを掲げて、今、2025年に向けて走っています。それってどういうことかというふうに申し上げますと、実はモデルのコンバージョン、こういった今出しているファーマスティックカンパニーいっぱいいらっしゃると思いますけれども、我々もこういったモデルのコンバージョンを今目指しながらビジネスをやっております。すなわち、もちろん今までイノバティブサイエンス、この領域において我々はリーディングカンパニーでございました。ここに関しては引き続き投資をしていきます。ただ、患者さんって別に最初から病気であるわけではないですよね。健康な時から未病があって治療が開始して治療後っていうこういったペイシェントジャーニーをたどって患者さんは人生を送っているわけですから、我々はモデルとしてはこれら全ての体験を向上させるようなそんなヘルスケアカンパニーへの変貌を目指しております。ただ一方で、やはりお薬屋さんとして数十年ビジネスやってきました。その上流のところ、あるいは下流のところ、ノウハウやエクスパーティーズ持ってますかって言われると、なかなか自分たちでは難しいと。そこでもちろん戦略が2つに分かれます。インハウスで全部で自分たちで作るのか、あるいは持っている人たちとコラボレーションしていくのか、我々は積極的にオープンイノベーションという戦略を今回選択したわけです。ではですね、この i2.jp というネットワークで何をチャレンジしていきますかというところを書いております。もちろん1つ目は戦略の中にもあるペイシェントセントリシティの実現でございます。2個目はですね、ヘルスケアプロフェッショナルに最先端の技術を届けましょうというところです。で、3つ目がですね、これはもうスタートアップでインキュベーションというふうに読み替えていただければと思います。もちろんこの点においては国内のスタートアップだけではなく、海外のスタートアップの皆さんに対しても門戸を開いているような状況でございます。後半に少し我々のコラボレーションの事例も踏まえてご紹介できればと思います。で、4つ目になるとですね、日本のソーシャル、あるいは、地域の医療課題を解決していきましょうというようなチャレンジを掲げています。これ非常に複雑で壮大な課題になってきますよね。そうすると、なお一層我々一社の製薬企業ができることの方が限られてきますので、ゆえにそれに対してエクスパティーズ、ノウハウ、ソリューションを持っている皆さんと一緒に組んでやっていくと、そういった形でこの i2.jp というネットワークを推進してきておりました。これが我々のパートナーの一覧の1ページ目です。すごくちっちゃいネットワークから実は始まりました。2020年11月にこのネットワークをローンチしたときはですね、わずか7社団体っていうちっちゃいネットワークから始まりました。もちろん我々はその7分の1ですので、実際のエクスターナルパートナーは6社団体だけっていう話でしたけれども、2枚合算しますと、今で450を超えるようなパートナーさんが我々のネットワークの中にいます。もちろんここに、ノルディックイノベーション、ノルディックイノベーションハウス、東京も我々のコミュニティパートナーとして入っておりますが、ビジの中で探すのはとても大変ですけれども、実はノルディックのスタートアップも数社、この活動を経て我々のネットワークにジョインしてくださっていますし、今日もそのビジネスマッチングを大変楽しみにしております。我々のハブを活用することによって、日本のマーケットインへの一助となればと思いますし、実は先ほどのグスタフさんの説明とありましたように、我々も似たようなアクティビティをスタートアップの皆さんと一緒にやっております。 では、幅広くアストラゼネカ、あるいはこの IT.jp としてどこに技術エリアとして注目しているかっていうところについて簡単に説明します。もちろん製薬企業ですので、ドラッグは外せません。ただ、一方で患者さんを取り巻く技術って別にそれだけではございませんので、ダイアグノシス、デバイス、デジタル、これら4つの D という技術エリアにフォーカスしております。一方で、作っていくソリューション、デザインしていくデバイス、ユーザーは患者さん、ないしはケアギバー、ないしは医療従事者、人なんですね。彼らの困ったところにしっかりとしたこういった技術がアドレスされていることっていうのも、技術の強さと同じぐらい大切なことじゃないかなというふうに考えておりまして、我々はこのエクスペリエンスデザインというところを非常に大事にしています。いつも新しいものを企画するときは、ここを8の字で描くように、これはいい技術だよね。でもこれ本当に困りごとにアドレスしてるみたいなところを行き来しながら、なるべくアジャイルに最初から正解にたどり着くようなプロジェクト運営をしております。アストラゼネカですね、今我々が探索している領域、もうかなり広くはなってはおりますが、オンコロジー、循環器系、呼吸器系、ワクチン、免疫系、あと最近ですね、レアディジーズみたいなところを今ターゲットにしております。ではじゃあ探索する領域っていうと、本当にさまざまなモダリティから、実はデバイスのところも幅広く今探索の対象にしておりますので、今日の皆さん、すべてそのエリアにいらっしゃると思いますので、商談会を大変楽しみにしております。少しですね、事例も踏まえつつ、これはバイオテックのスタートアップさんとのコラボレーションのプロセスを簡単に説明しております。我々は今世界中でグローバル、日本も含めてさまざまな新規シリーズを探索しております。で、非常にプロミッシングなシリーズと出会った場合はですね、日本のシリーズの場合は日本とグローバル両方の方でファンディングをしながら、まずは共同研究、それからシリーズがどんどん育っていけば、ないしはライセンスインといったようなビジネスが可能になっております。で、ちょっと事例も一つだけ今、なかなかオープンにすることが難しい領域では理解しつつもですね、こちら2020年に日本のサイラ iPS の研究センターからカーブアウトしたスタートアップさんとのグローバル研究でございます。2022年から開始しまして、現在継続中でございます。ですので、シーズンをどんどん今育てているようなところです。で、サイラは何をやっているかというと、iPS 細胞を分化させて、ミニ腎臓ですね、腎臓のオルガノイドを作るような技術を特異的に持っているようなスタートアップさんでございまして、で我々は慢性腎不全の領域において継続したパイプラインを持っておりますので、ここら辺で非常に高いシナジーがございますので、今も継続した共同研究をさせていただいております。もちろん将来的には、再生医療、そういった領域にも目指してはいつつも、直近はまずは非臨床のところでどんなことができるかを共同研究レベルでやっております。で、続いてですね、海外のそのドラッグ以外のスタートアップ、本来はここに北欧の旗を一つでも多く載せたかったところですけれども、なかなかやっぱりヘルスケアでね、ものにするのって結構大変ですので、今、進捗のあるものを中心に持ってきております。一つ英国をベースにした AI の、データ企業です。ここはEMR です。デンカルの中に入ってですね、まだ受診数値が悪いけれども、まだ先生が気づいてない患者みたいなところを見つけて、アラートを出してくれるようなシステムを提供しております。つまり、アンダイアグノーズの治療が始められていない人、あるいは不十分な治療がなされている人を AI がサポートしながら情報提供して、正しい治療に導くようなソリューションを届けております。で、こことは今、日本で POC を実施することをディスカッションしております。で、真ん中も英国のスタートアップさんで、これはiPhone をベースにしたスクリーニング技術のソリューションを提供しております。1分間、その iPhone に出てくるインディケーションですね、インストラクションに従って呼吸をしたり、深呼吸をしたり、あるいは普通に画面を見たり、1分間だけで実は呼吸量とか、そういったものが分かるような技術を提供しております。日本では今 PMDA の、治験を経て PMDA のクラス2を目指しているというふうな状況でございまして、で我々は彼らに対してディストリビューターですね、将来日本で上市がした後のディストリビューターを紹介しているようなところです。一番奥のは、今度はシンガポールのスタートアップですね。これはインヘラ、吸入器が正しく吸えているかどうかをフィードバックするようなデジタルソリューション、デバイスを提供しているような企業です。もちろんこの会議に参加しても3年目でございますので、来年こそはここにノルディックの旗を1つの2つでも私は載せていけるように頑張りたいなと思っております。 というところで、さまざまな機械創出をこのネットワークの中でパートナー同士で創出しているのが1点ですね。今日もそういった機会だというふうに考えております。で、あとはこういった機会を我々は、スタートアップ国内外に提供していきたいなというふうに考えております。これ1社で提供しようと思ったらかなり大変ですけれども、450社の中にはこういったアセットを持っているスタートアップ企業さんがいっぱいいらっしゃいますので、何かありましたら一旦我々にご相談いただければ何かしらはお戻しできるような、そんなネットワークになっております。ぜひスタートアップの皆さん活用していただければと思います。以上でございます。ありがとうございます。
ゆうさん、どうもありがとうございました。それではですね、ここからは、今回、本日サミットに参加している北欧企業のうち、10社より、ピッチをさせていただきます。So now we are moving on to the pitching session. Each company will have 3 minutes. When 2 minutes pass, we will have a 1 minute left sign. And then when it's 3 minutes, we'll have a timeout sign. First on is Alzekar. Martin, may I have you on the stage?
Yes. That one button. Okay, yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Martin Johnson. I'm the CEO of Alzecure Pharma. Alzecure Pharma is a company who are focusing on Alzheimer's disease and pain. And we are a spin-out out of AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca was active in the CNS and Alzheimer's space until 2012. And as they left, a group of researchers from AstraZeneca founded Alzecure together with collaboration with Karolinska Institute. And we are also sponsored by the Swedish Alzheimer's Fund. And we are situated at Karolinska Institute and do a lot of research together with them. We work with small molecule projects and developing first-in-class molecules. So the projects we are running today are based on molecules that we have developed ourselves. We have one project in Alzheimer's, which is called Alstatin, which is a project to prevent that you develop Alzheimer's, focusing on diminishing the production of what creates the plaque. Then we have one project called New Restore to help individuals who have problems with cognitive disorders, with learning and memory abilities, to improve their ability to learn and remember. And based on the biology, we now also see that we can potentially be preventive, improving brain health. We also have a mechanism here, since we are working with BDNF, and this also supports the treatment of depression. Then we have a pain platform, and here we are using the reverse mechanism from New Restore. So in New Restore, we are upregulating neurotrophic signaling. In painless, we are downregulating neurotrophic signaling. And here we have 2 projects. And we are today a listed company on the NASDAQ in Sweden, Stockholm. And as a business model, we are a research and development company. Our ambition is to take our projects as the furthest into phase 2 and to out-license, and by out-licensing them, getting funding so we can drive our other projects. So we are here in Japan to find a partner for one of our projects. We only want to out-license one. And this is our pipeline. So New Restore, we have positive phase 1 data and are preparing for phase 2. Here we also have target engagement data showing that we are activating centers in the brain, which are key for cognitive, improve that, and also for depression. Alstatin, to prevent that you develop Alzheimer's, we have 2 candidates and we'll select one. And our ambition is to go into man
and actually patients beginning next year. And then in painless, we this fall had positive phase 2 data, phase 2A data on our first-in-class TRPV1 antagonist in neuropathic pain. And then we also are having a project, a negative allosteric modulator focusing on osteoarthritis. Why this project, the TRK NAM is of special interest here in Japan is that you have a company called Asakasei, who have now started a project in this area and are in phase 2B. And our molecules are even more potent and selective. So this is AlSecure. Please approach me to learn more about the company, and thank you for your interest.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございました。申し遅れましたが、先ほど今のAlSecureから始まりまして、最初の4社は製薬分野のスタートアップになります。続きましては、同じくスウェーデンから、ドルポー社になります。どうぞ。
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lena Wikingsson from Dela4, and I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you for the invitation to present Dela4 and our product Tafoxeparin. Dela4 is a women's health company. We are situated at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. We are working with Tafoxeparin. It's a novel treatment with a new mechanism of action for priming of labor. And the ones that are going to use this is term pregnant women that would like to initiate labor. They will use it at home for up to 5 days. During these 5 days, approximately 59% of the women will start spontaneously going into labor or to have a ripe cervix and have labor. The additional 40%, only 40% will need to have standard of care at the hospital. And standard of care today is prostaglandins or balloons. The phase 2 data showed that 59% had a spontaneous onset of labor. Also, the phase 2B data showed that if you had Tafoxeparin, you had fewer women with instrumental deliveries, that is vacuum extractions. We could reduce the instrumental deliveries with 50%. Also, when it comes to operative deliveries and operative deliveries due to fetal distress, we could reduce that with more than 50% if the women were treated with Tafoxeparin compared to standard of care. So there is a need for a novel solution in this area. There's new guidelines in US, there's new guidelines in Europe and also globally saying that we are to start labor earlier in gestational age. So there is an increasing demand from women, there's an increasing demand from the society to have initiation of labor. Today, approximately 32% of all women are initiated into labor, and that will increase. That will also increase our market. Sorry. We believe that we have a paradigm shift with Tafoxeparin. It will be the new standard of care. It will be a safe, effective initiation of labor. It will be done at home, so we will have a higher quality of life for the woman and also for the partner of the woman. We have IP protection to 2043. We are ready to go into phase 3 clinical trials, and we see that it's a significant commercial opportunity with Tafoxeparin. We'll have health economic studies and also market studies showing that. It's $1 billion market out there. So please come and talk to us. Thank you.
Next, we have Arctic Bioscience from Norway.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm Christopher Waller, the CEO of Arctic Bioscience. Arctic Bioscience is a Norwegian biotech listed on the Euronext Growth in Oslo. Our ambition is to improve quality of life for people with inflammatory disorders. We do this through developing and commercializing pharmaceutical and nutraceutical products based on unique bioactive marine compounds. Very shortly about our Nutra line. Omega is our global brand for nutraceuticals with distribution B2C and through partners globally. Currently, we have 3 consumer products, that is brain health, eye health, and prenatal. The products are based on extracts from caviar or wild-caught North Atlantic herring in Japan, better known as Kasunuko. Moving on to our pharma products. Our most advanced pharma asset is the HO350 in mild to moderate psoriasis. Psoriasis is a chronic skin disease. We are addressing the mild to moderate, which makes up about 80% of the total psoriasis population, patient population, which is a huge market. And we are introducing a novel oral product that meets an unmet medical need in this patient population. In addition to that, we see a huge potential to become a first-line treatment for children in psoriasis. The project is currently in a phase 2B ongoing in Europe in 5 countries, 519 patients. Readout is expected September this year. Our second pharma medical candidate is ABS-302, which is addressing, it's a drug candidate for brain development in extremely premature infants. That is infants born before week 28. There are more than 15 million premature births annually worldwide, and about 5% of these are extremely premature. We see an extensive potential with our membrane lipid platform beyond psoriasis, where we see potential within various inflammatory diseases as the future development potential. In Japan, we are looking for a future Japanese partner for co-developing and commercializing our medical candidates. In addition to that, more short-term, we are seeking an exclusive Japanese partner for commercializing our Nutra products under the brand name Omega in the Japanese market. And thirdly, we are looking for specialized investors for our next funding round in late 2024 or early 2025. With that, I thank you for the attention and conclude my presentation.
Thank you very much. Next, we have BioReparia.
Thank you for the invitation of being here today. I'm very happy. We all know somebody that has died from cancer. Imagine that 7 days after diagnosis, the most optimal treatment is found for that specific patient, and that treatment can be applied immediately. My name is Anna Erkstam. I work in the Swedish biotech company BioReparia, and we have developed a model that can do this. So today, cancer patients are treated according to diagnosis, which is not taken individual differences into consideration, leading that cancer treatments today are ineffective in 2 out of 3 cancer patients. The current methods or models on the market for personalized medicine are genomic tools, which are very, very efficient, but for really a minority of the patients, if we look at all cancer patients as one group. So new treatment or new methods that can reach all patients and that are sensitive, fast, and cost-efficient are urgently needed. Our solution for this is CTX Predict, a unique diagnostic in vivo tool for personalized medicine. A cancer biopsy is sent to our lab, and we implant this biopsy in 2-day-old zebrafish larvae. We then treat the larvae with the different treatment options there are for this specific patient, and can, within 5 days, provide the treating oncologist in how efficient these different treatments are, so the oncologist can select the most effective treatment. This model works for all solid cancers, and we have seen in our clinical projects that we have a treatment accuracy of 80%, comparing our model to the actual clinical outcome in the patient. Our model is a functional in vivo analysis. We provide a service. It's CE marked, so it can be used in clinics and hospitals. But the model is also used by pharma and biotech companies in their preclinical and clinical pipeline. And we are helping them with target validation, screening, as well as patient stratifications into clinical trials. We have been on the market since 2015, and we now see a quite nice growth in the company. We are also working with automation robots to be able to really scale up our production. We are here in Japan today to find collaborators in pharma for this model, also in hospitals to understand the Japanese healthcare system and see how we can do best help of Japanese patients. We are also seeking an investment for further development into different new markets for clinical development. Thank you so much for listening.
ありがとうございました。続きまして、ここから、4社は、デジタルヘルス IT 化に関する、ソリューションを持つ企業が、続きます。まずは、ノルウェーから同志社でございます。
Hello, my name is Evan Harkett. I'm a COO in Dossier. Dossier is an administrative system for health organizations. We are structuring competencies in the health organizations. The reason why we do this is that we see there are 3 main challenges. The demographic shift, which actually requires new way of doing work, increasing complexity in the organizations with new technology that people actually need to learn to utilize, and regulatory requirements and increasing requirements for certification of both employees and the organizations. This is an example of a nurse in an emergency room. She holds 150 requirements which need to be renewed every year. 1/3 of them need to be renewed every year. This is what we are structuring, and this is what we are helping our customer with. Patient safety, making compliant to standards, compliance, making sure that they are doing what is required as an organization, and not least reducing the manual work for automation through digitalization. We do this with 2 central components in our system. which is a competency plan, which is a structure of these competencies. And in our database, we have 1 million competencies for our customers. And this is viewed in a dashboard where the top management and all managers are able to monitor every single employee. We are integrating with all the learning activities and all the systems you have in your organization, and we are delivering competency information to shift planning and other systems in your organization. We are currently in the Nordics, in US, and lately we got a deal with SingHealth, the largest health organization in Singapore. We are here to investigate whether our software and our value proposition is a market fit in the Japanese market. So we are trying to visit university hospitals and other hospitals to see whether this is a challenge or not. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Patricia from Denmark.
Hello, everybody. I'm Julian, and I'm from Patricia, where we are designing and building a platform for the next generation data economy. So imagine that you could compute on all the world's data without leaking any personal information or breaching any regulations. So Patricia's mission is to solve the issue of breaking down data silos. So Patricia is a scale-up from Denmark, and we work within cybersecurity, and we are global leaders within especially the commercial use of two core technologies, multi-party computation and blockchain. So today, many organizations and institutions sit on a very large sets of data that they can't use because of competitive or regulatory issues. Patricia's platform can help unlock this data by using our proprietary technology, multi-party computation, which can anonymize data. This means that we can help improve clinical studies, healthcare studies, aggregated statistics, but also we can give the opportunity for patients and citizens to actually give consent for third parties to use their data. So our platform consists of several layers. This is a simplified version, and in this model, a citizen or a patient can connect their health data from their device to the digital wallet, and through a decentralized digital identity, they can actually give consent to a data pool where third party and analysts can actually analyze on this data. And in the data pool, you can also attach and add other private or public large data sets. And then in the data pool, by using multi-party computation, you can anonymize the data so that the third party and the analysts will not have access to any of the data, but only receive the analytical output. On top of this, we have a blockchain layer on the top where you can register all data transactions. So you can always track who has accessed what data, why have they accessed it, and when have they accessed it. This means you will be fully compliant with all data regulations. So all in all, this one, it consists of three important technologies: decentralized digital identities, multi-party computation, and blockchain. And with this kind of framework, you can actually make very, very strong analytical outputs from multiple data sources. So for Patricia, Japan is one of our key markets, and we are very much looking for a Japanese partner to make such a use case of sharing data. This can be done in many ways. Furthermore, we are also looking for investment for upcoming A round. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。続きまして最後の4社なんですけども、今回本日が叶わなかったため、ビデオにて、ピッチをさせていただきます。まずは、ノルウェーのノーザンテック社の、ピッチ動画でございます。
Hi, I'm Eystein Stenberg, the CTO of Northern Tech. Northern Tech is the company behind Mender, which provides over-the-air updates for smart and connected devices. In the healthcare industry today, there is a global shortage of workers. A few examples. One is from Japan, where 70% of the healthcare providers report a shortage in the workforce. In the US, there's an estimated shortage of about 400,000 in-home health aid providers and also about 30,000 nurse shortage. And this is where health device OEMs can innovate to optimize and make the staff more efficient. And for in-home type health, there are two ways that smart devices can help. So if you do the monitoring of patients at their home, you don't have to go to their home that many times. And the patients don't have to go to the hospitals and the clinics that many times either. For the clinics and the hospitals, the advantage is that you don't need that much expert staff on site because you can do the scanning, let's say, and the X-ray or do a retina scan, for example, with people who don't have the expert training, but you send the data over a network to the staff that can do the analysis of the data from the scan. Of course, whenever you connect a device to the internet, and in particular for healthcare, there's a risk of cyber attacks. And here are some recent examples where this has gone wrong, but this also increases pressure on governments to regulate. For example, the Federal Drug Administration in the US have put in place new rules for medical devices that are connected, in particular in terms of over-the-air updates to deploy new security updates to the products. This is where Mender can help. We provide an out-of-the-box solution for providing over-the-air security updates that is battle-tested, secured across millions of devices today. This reduces your time to market, and it also reduces the risk of any cybersecurity attack and any non-compliance with government regulation. We have many customers today, and you can see some examples here, both from the healthcare industry and other industries. If you would like to learn more, please go to our website, mender.io, and fill out the contact form, and we will be back in touch. Thank you.
続きましては、スウェーデンからスマートケアアナリティカという会社の、ピッチになります。
Hello, thank you for letting me present. My name is Henrik Udén. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the company SmartCare, offering a digital platform for healthcare clinics. So myself and Surendra, the two founders of SmartCare, are both IT and digitization experts. We've worked within IT for many companies and many years also for IBM, and also many years in the healthcare sector. We both live in Sweden, and we started the company together in 2020. So in the past 2 decades, digitization has really exploded, and digitization has improved the way we work and the result. However, within healthcare, it's still very initial stages, and millions of clinics globally still operate on pen and paper. So we actually developed SmartCare, and we offer a full functionality for a clinic, everything from digital prescriptions, patient journals and follow-ups, appointments management, digital payments, and we have a full lab pathology functionality as well. So a complete ecosystem for a clinic. Smart Care is very user-friendly, and you can even run Smart Care on a tablet. So we've built it in a way that you don't need a computer and a keyboard, and we've worked very, very closely with many of the doctors to develop the product. So we've done the development over a number of years with a fantastic development team and with inputs from many doctors. Our platform is now used every day, and we've onboarded more than 3,000 doctors. We're now looking to expand to Japan and perhaps some other markets in the future. I've spoken to my friend Magnus Blondell from Business Sweden regarding the possibility to expand to Japan, and we are now offering a product which is proven, adaptable and scalable to multiple markets. And we have a very strong product development team that we've been working with since 2018. And we're now looking for a partner investor in order to launch Smart Care in Japan. Thank you very much, and please do reach out to me for further discussions if we haven't already booked a matchmaking session today. Thank you so much.
最後の2社はバイオ医薬品系の会社になります。まずはフィンランドからランティスファーマーのピッチでございます。
Hello, my name is Antti Vuolanto. I'm the CEO of Herantis Pharma. Herantis is a Finnish company established 2008, and we also have a listing in Helsinki. We develop disease-modifying treatment to address the unmet clinical need in Parkinson's disease and other neurodegenerative diseases. Our lead asset, HER96, is a synthetic peptidomimetic molecule that combines a unique mechanism of action with patient-friendly subcutaneous administration. We have shown great preclinical effect in Parkinson's disease model. So in this video, you see a mouse, aged mouse, walking over bar walking test for motor coordination. The first mouse was just a normal aged mouse. The second one has the induced Parkinson's type pathology, and as you can see, it has a clear motor phenotypes and it's struggling with walking over the bar. The third one has been treated subcutaneously with HER96, and as you can see, we are really able to affect the motor symptoms, and this third mouse is truly walking smoothly over the bar. And how we are addressing the pathology of the degenerating dopaminergic neurons. The neurons suffer from endoplastic reticulum stress, and there is accumulation of toxic alpha-synuclein aggregates. There is neuroinflammation, and all of this result in decreased dopamine secretion and movement disorder. When we treat with HER96, these neurons, we are able to normalize their function. So we normalize endoplastic reticulum function, we decrease alpha-synuclein aggregates, we alleviate the neuroinflammation, and normalize the dopamine secretion. And this results in normalized motor function. So we truly believe that we are able to slow or even stop the progression of Parkinson's disease with symptomatic relief. We have great preclinical evidence demonstrating the mechanism of action and the effect on relevant Parkinson's models. And last year, we have conducted the first clinical study demonstrating blood-brain barrier penetration after subcutaneous administration. Next, we want to start phase 1b clinical study to study safety and tolerability of multiple subcutaneous dosings of HER96 in Parkinson's patients. We want to continue with other phase 2 preparations, and we want to explore HER96 in other indications, including ALS. As a strategy, we want to find a development partner for HER96, and also we welcome new investors to support our development. You are very welcome to contact either me or our CFO, Tune Kuole, if you're interested. Thank you.
それでは最後の、企業になります。スウェーデンからサリプロバイオテックのピッチ動画になります。
Hi everyone. My name is Lorena, and I'm the Business Development Manager at Salipro Biotech. I'd like to introduce you our technology called Salipro that enables the access of undruggable drug targets for the discovery of next-generation therapeutics. We are headquartered in Stockholm, in Sweden, in the north of Europe, and we are collaborating with pharma and biotech companies, and we have a fully owned IP portfolio which covers our platform technology. Our main focus is a class of extremely favorable drug targets, so-called membrane proteins, and these proteins are of great importance in drug discovery as they are involved in multiple diseases. However, because they are so complex and challenging to work with, many of them still remain undruggable. At Salipro Biotech, we have developed an approach to solve this problem. So here you see an example of several membrane protein targets protruding out from the cell surface. And if we zoom in one of them, you can see here for simplification a cartoon illustration of a membrane protein together with the native lipids of the cell membrane. So the way that the Salipro platform works is that we have our membrane protein of interest, and this can be a wild type, and then we add directly the scaffold protein that you see here in blue. And the scaffold protein scoops out the membrane protein from the cell, together with a portion of the cell membrane. So the result is the Salipro membrane protein nanoparticle that consists of the membrane protein, a portion of the cell membrane, and the Salipro scaffold, keeping everything stable. And from this point, you can work with the membrane protein as if it is a soluble protein and use it for drug development. And once you have your drug target in Salipro, you can use it for a wide number of downstream applications. For example, you can use it for screening and validation of drug candidates, you can use it for structure determination, or you can also use it for the novel generation of small molecule drugs or biologics. We have several case studies showcasing Salipro different applications. Here, for example, you can see the cryo-EM structure of a GPCR protein and SPR measurements done on this target. We also have a pipeline of internal targets that are ready for collaboration. And we are engaged in 49 discovery programs with 23 partners, including 9 of the top 20 pharma companies. And on the map here, you can see that our partners are distributed quite globally. We have partners in North America, in Europe, and also several partners in Japan. And at the bottom, you can see a selection of some of these collaborations that we can disclose. If you would like to hear more, please reach out to me via the Partnerit platform or via my email. Thank you for your attention.
登壇いただいた皆様どうもありがとうございました。最後にですね、閉会の挨拶、そしてこのから引き続きます商談会セッションの説明を兼ねて、スウェーデン大使館商務部マグネス・ブロンドルから挨拶をさせていただきます。お願いいたします。
Thank you so much for listening this far, both all of you in the seminar room in Central Tokyo and also all of you joining online. I hope that this seminar has given you an overview of life science in the Nordics and innovation in general. I also hope that the speeches gave you some additional insight on healthcare innovation in both the Nordics and Japan, and collaboration between our ecosystems. And finally, that the pitching companies gave you a snapshot of what is going on in specific companies in the life science sector, including biotech, pharma, and digital health. So you see a lot of things are cooking, and this is just a snapshot of 10 examples of innovative Nordic healthcare companies. And finally, I hope that this creates some inspiration and that you feel energized for the matchmaking meetings that are coming up. So I wish you the very best during those meetings, and I hope you will have interesting discussions also after them, including during the reception. But please make sure that you follow up on the discussions and that you can keep in touch and have follow-up meetings and develop business together. So thank you so much for joining, and we're looking forward to seeing you during the matchmaking and the receptions, and to keep in touch to help increase collaborations between the Nordics and Japan in the life science sector. Thank you so much.
マグヌスさん、ありがとうございました。では、これにて、北欧ヘルスサミットジャパン2024の、セミナー部分を、終了させていただきます。